Hi everyone, this is Jesse from LED86. This video is going to be a little tutorial on how to remove and install your side markers. This video should cover pretty much any side marker from Aves to Valenti, Revia, all those sort of side markers. They all pretty much function the same way. So I've installed a lot of side markers for customers, and I've learned a few tips and tricks that might help you do it yourself. So hopefully give it a shot. It's not too difficult if you know how it works, and I'll demonstrate. So first off, when you're removing side markers, I'll explain how that works. Here we've got a Valenti side marker, and on the base we have two clips and one on the top. These are what hold the side marker into the frame of the car. The two on the base pretty much just hold it in position and stop any movement and kind of keep that corner in. That's about all they do. The main one that's doing the work is this clip. It's very important you don't break this clip. You don't want to bend it because that's going to snap it. Like you're getting a paper clip and you bend it back and forth, it's just going to snap. So it's important not to break that. If you do, take it out and take the one from your stock, and you should be able to fit it back in. It's very difficult to find the actual clip, so don't break it. Now what happens, I've got a small rough diagram prop I can use to explain. So if we picture this as your frame of your car, you can imagine the arch of the wheel here and your main front wheel here. What happens is there's a little hole where this clip will fit into. And if I fit that into place, you can imagine your car frame's holding it, pretty much like that. The clip on the back is sort of angled in a way that hooks over, and the lip of this is holding it into place. If I take that off, I'll show you what I mean. If you look on the side here, you can actually see a little lip there. So the metal of the frame of the car is actually sitting under that edge, and the force of this clip is pushing outwards, holding the side marker in place. When we're removing the side marker, what we're actually trying to do, I've got a little flathead screwdriver here, a little tiny one. I find this helps when you're taking out your side markers. So what we're trying to do is actually push against that lip towards the front of the car. As you can imagine, you're sort of pushing it this way. So pushing against that lip, applying some force and sort of bending it in, and then also applying force to the back of the side marker, like that. So you're sort of pushing on the lip of that clip from behind and pulling away from the car, and that's what's going to free it. So if I put my little prop back on, what some people try and do when they're uninstalling side markers is they're actually trying to go through the little service hole that you find behind and pushing against here. You can imagine that takes a lot of force to push because it's not its real weakest point. That's where it's strongest, and it's going to take a lot of force to really bend it. I found it's actually much easier if you go between the side marker and the frame of the car. So you're actually going in between the two. And I'll exaggerate a bit here, but you kind of pull your side marker out just a little bit and you'll start to see the edge of that lip. So when you're pulling it out, don't pull it out too far because you might break it. But you just want to, you'll get a flashlight and you'll see that edge there. That's what you want to push against. Not from the back, but against that. So with your little screwdriver and sort of pulling away from the car, find that edge. Just feel for it. You'll have to do it by feel. Push it towards the front of the car and it'll pop out. That's how I do it. It seems to be pretty quick. You'll see in the next part of this video where I actually remove it from the car, and I do it pretty quick. Now, when you're installing side markers, there's a few things that might affect it actually being installed properly. And there's a few things you can do to actually make it fit. First thing is line it up from the base first, put that in first, and then try to push that and lock it into place. When it clicks in properly, you'll either feel it or you'll hear it. And to make sure it is seated properly, you kind of get your finger and just pull away from the car. If it's not seated, it'll just drop out. You'll feel that it's not. If it is seated properly, you'll feel a bit of movement, but it will take a fair bit and it just won't come out. That's when you know it's actually seated properly. So when you're installing it, you either get lucky and it installs no problem, or you have an issue. And there's a few things you can do. First is this clip here might actually be too close to the surface here. And if you get your stock side marker and compare it, you'll probably actually find it's a little bit of distance away. So what you can do is get some pliers, grab onto that and just wriggle it back and forward, pulling it sort of away from the side marker. Don't pull it this way because you'll bend the pin. You want to grab it and sort of rock it back and forward. Just give it a little bit of distance and then try and install it. That should work. Another thing you can do, which doesn't really help but it's something, is just remove this bit of foam. It'll give you a bit more distance to the edge. Another thing you could try is just getting a bit of grease and just putting it on that clip, and that might help to seat it properly. And you could also try pushing it into the, like, it's not going to move much, but just push it into the car more and then push it in. Because it might be that it's a bit too far back or too far forward, sort of like that. So you're trying to line up that hole, and then what I usually do is fingers on the back behind the frame, pushing in, and thumb on the front, kind of squeezing it together, and you'll hear it click into place. Once it's clicked into place, it's pretty much set. Now in the next video, the final thing you can try as well, if none of that's working, remove this clip and put that aside. Take the clip from your stock side marker and put it into that. That might help it as well. I've done that a couple of times as a last resort, and it has helped. So in the next video, or the next part of this video, you'll actually see me installing one. With this customer, it went pretty well. There was no issues and both sides just fit straight away. So it's not the best example, but it's kind of like the situation you want to be in is where you don't have any issues. If you have any questions, just send me a message. Or if you don't understand the installation of the next part of this video, just go back to this part and sort of go over it again. Hopefully this helps you install. Okay, so to install or take out your stock side markers, first you want to take out these little clips. There's 4 locations, so there's one here, 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 and then one up just behind the indicator. So we're going to take this last one out. Just use a little Phillips head screwdriver. Unlock it and then it will pop out. Next you need to get this weather shield out. So just peel that back and that will give you some room. And then we want to remove this. Now in the earlier video I explained how to get that little pin out of the way. I'm just going to use a really small flathead screwdriver. It helps if you kind of bend out using your finger on the back, just to give you some room. And you won't be able to see in the video, but I just use that to see where the pin is. And then once I can spot it, I can just put the flathead screwdriver on it, push in towards the front of the car, and then I'll feel it release. So if I can see it. So just kind of get the screwdriver in position where you can feel it hit the end. I can feel it there. So if I push into the pin, it might take a few tries. But if you just sort of work it out bit by bit, eventually it'll pop out. Yeah. And then all you need to do is loosen it from the bottom, twist to unlock, and then remove your stock indicator, and then also remove the bulb. You just remove the bulbs by just pulling them out. So as I was explaining, you can see the little metal tab here, which is what holds the side marker in, and the little hole in the frame here, which is what it clips into. So what you're actually trying to do, instead of going from behind and pushing that clip, actually go between the side marker and the frame here, and you'll feel the lip of the clip, and that's where you push into it and then pull the side marker out. So between the two, not from the back, but between the two. It'll make it a lot easier. And a lot of people will just try and pull the side marker out, and they'll end up bending the tab out, and once that bends out and breaks, it's never gonna go back in. So next we're gonna install this. Just make sure the pins are okay, and then we'll connect it. I always like to test it first. So an easy way to do that is just get your keys and lock the car. Okay, so we can see in that case it is connected. If it was the wrong way and we locked the car again, okay, it works that way as well. So in this, with the Volantes, it doesn't look like it matters which way you put the pins in. Kind of get an idea of how it's going to line up. It's important that you actually lock these in, otherwise you're going to get water in the back. So you just need to line it up. They do take a bit of force sometimes. It will only go in a certain direction, so you just need to get that direction right first, and then it'll go in. There we go. Once it's in, lock it. So twist to lock. And it should look something like that. So it kind of bends in and goes down into the car. You can remove the plastic. Put the harness through first. I always start with this corner and sort of push it down and into the car a bit. And then we just need to line up the back with the little hole there. So we start with this corner, get it into place, and then use your fingers from behind that plate. Use your thumb on the front, line it up, and then squeeze it together until you hear it click. Sometimes they're really easy to install, so you won't actually hear anything. So to test if it's going to fall out or not, you just pull on the back, just put a bit of pressure and see if it pops out. If it's not clipped in properly, it's just going to pop out every time. So you really need to reset it, get it into position, squeeze it down. Most of the time you'll hear a loud click and you'll know it's set in place. So just go along the edges, make sure it's all fit, push into that back, and then test it. So in this case, it looked like it was pretty easy to do. There was no dramas or anything. If you do have any issues with it fitting, if it's not clicking in properly, if it keeps dropping out, just refer to earlier in the video where I go over a few tips on getting it to fit properly. If you do continue to have issues, just send me a message and I'll try and help you out. Alright, I hope that helps you install your side markers.